Hey everybody, interesting twist of events. We meant to record part 2 of It's So Hard to Find Good People. Stumbled on 3 dreary yet positive shop owners who in a way weren't sure they were prepared to record that session. What's cool is we got a great insight into what is it like to operate your facility prior to, through, and after the holidays. So that's where we spent the next 40 minutes, is just talking about what it's like during this holiday season. And so I'm excited to call it a delay on a release of part 2. It's so hard to find good people into the new year. I just want to encourage each one of you during this holiday season to be kind to yourself, be kind to your people, be kind to your customers. Above all, trust that it is okay to look after yourself and the quality of life of your people. And with that, the profits will come. So enjoy the show and Merry Christmas, each and every one of you.
Oh no!
Oh my word!
So bad.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I am underprepared for this episode. I need to.
I tried to do a bit of resetting this morning. It was not easy. This is a challenging time of year, I think, for me to get into this. I was like, oh, can't we just reschedule? Like, I take a Christmas break.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I literally from 8 o'clock this morning till about 15 minutes ago was working on financials and wage reviews for next year, like our increases.
Yep, that's it. Mark and I, that's what we're doing. It's like, oh man, yeah. It's a. Oh, there he is. Look at this.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
How was that?
Louder. Yep.
Okay. I just started talking louder. So
Now, when you review the recording, you can hear how much shit we talked in the background.
Yeah.
I was actually half tempted just not to sign back in and see how you guys played well.
Oh, it'd be pretty funny. We were just like both Norm and I'm not sure whether you can relate, but feel a bit unprepared as far as like I'm definitely into it. We'll get into it, but feeling like mentally a bit unprepared for the conversation. I tried to get into it this morning, watched a bit of Jason Duffy, and like did a bunch of reading, but it's just hard time of year, and like Norm's doing the same thing we are, which is wage reviews and dealing with financials and stuff. So yeah, it's a tricky time. That and the fact that I'm leaving for Christmas this year is making me feel a bit more like unsettled. But
so what I hear you, and I just went through a really cool like personality profiling coaching session. What I hear you saying, Todd, is you're overwhelmed with the thought of producing a podcast where otherwise you would be a better version of yourself if you had more time to prepare.
Listen to this guy. You know what I need? I need a leather couch. I could lay back and you could talk softly and tell me about all the things that I'm projecting.
Hey, you cut to the core.
Todd, you just literally walked us into why we're on this call today.
I know. I get it.
Let's do it. Let's just talk about how each of you are doing just prior to the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I think out of this is going to come some cool conversation. I've got ideas on some future podcasts. I've got some questions on how life looks like now that I'm not in the shop and you guys still are. Like, let's just do it. So this is a session designed to allow the shop owner to share how they're feeling at the beginning of the Christmas season.
Love it.
I'll go first. I used to book these 2 weeks off at the beginning of the year. I would book the end of December off. I would not go in the body shop. I could seriously tell you that I think I almost had a mental breakdown. And maybe some of it self-inflicted, right? You got some late nights, some parties, but I'm talking as a manager, you just kind of fumbled your way through trying to get everyone's time off and make them happy. There's the flu. There's the spouses that are getting time off when you still have to work. There's the, this was a good one, scheduling, because now you're going to get, 12 days of production done in 4. And I mean, other than you just saying, we'll just pay the rentals while we shut down, no one's happy about that. So I would literally block these 2 weeks off. And in a way, interestingly, my people rose up. Whoever was there took care of it. It made me sick to have to manage a shop through the Christmas season. So
that's really interesting. Well, we're on year 3 of closing, Lenny. We just we straight up decided, I think it was 3 years ago now. We just decided that's it. We're done. We're going to close between Christmas and New Year's, and this year's even a bit more complicated because we're not doing Wednesday to Wednesday, but after Christmas Eve, we're closed till the 6th or whatever. It's like, it was the same thing. Instead of me removing myself from the chaos and letting everybody else deal with it, it was like, you know what? Nobody should have to deal with this. Let's just take a minute and reset. It's man, it's with the feedback we got the first year we did it was like, oh man, I did not realize how hard Christmas season was on me until I had a week or 10 days off to just actually chill out, reflect, have some fun with my family. It's a good reset.
Yeah. I think it's all.
We
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's all.
I was just saying our Januaries have just been our Januaries have just been stellar ever since we did it. So
yeah. No, I think it's even harder when you're in a manager role because you may not be at work, and if work is operating while you're gone, it's worse, right? You're thinking about work, you're thinking about all those things, you're thinking about the additional stress on your people, you're thinking about all these other things, and you don't get to. I mean, I shouldn't say we. I, for one, I'll speak for myself. Don't get to enjoy my holiday when I know things are still happening, right? So, the shutting down the shop and knowing that okay, there's nothing going on, we've tied up all the loose ends before the holidays, we're good to go. That's worth something. And I think people in the managerial positions feel that a little bit more than the technicians for the most part. So I think it's, to your point, I think it's nice to shut it down and just have everybody just chill out.
Oh, I hear you, Norm, but I just bailed.
I love it.
Hey, don't get me wrong. It made my first 2 weeks of January.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Regretting taking a holiday, but those 2 weeks were the best weeks of my life. Like I checked out.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love you. That's called self-preservation. I think, Lenny, that's like literally, I'm going to grenade if I don't do it. You just have to do it because then you live to fight another day or another year or whatever. But like, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, but then it was the first 2 weeks of January.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Norm, did you say what you guys do?
Yeah, same. We're shutting down, I think, on Tuesday, right, like half day. And then we're coming back. We're coming back actually on the 2nd, so not on the 6th like Todd. But it was kind of a group discussion. We talked about it, and different people have different holiday schedules and different vacation days that they've saved up. And we actually have a couple people that are coming in on the Monday, Tuesday in between because they want to work, and we got to work in the shop. The front office will be closed, but some of the techs want to come work. Yeah. One of our office girl wants to come count some clothing inventory and stuff like that. So we're like, have at it.
That's
good.
Good.
And we're very much like Norm, and it kind of depends on a year to year thing. This year, obviously Christmas on a Wednesday, the 23rd. Why even bring your staff in, for that one day, is kind of always a thought. 24th, I don't like anybody working on Christmas Eve. I just don't think that's right. Even to do a half day, just to say we're going to get something done. We all know that turns into basically a shit show of staff just not doing anything because they don't really want to be there anyway. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, this year it's pretty much the 24th, 25th, 26th, and the 27th we're off, and then we are back to work on the 30th, but they get New Year's Day off. So
Good deal.
a little busier this year, but I would be very open to something that Todd does there, and dealing with Lenny's worst January start because you're so backed up, but I don't think that's any different really than any other week, right? You get busy weeks and
and just so I'm clear, we didn't close down. We kept going. And that's what I'm curious is maybe now what I'm picking up is we would have been better to have just taken a gap. What I maybe, Joel, you just led to the next question is, Todd, Norm, what is it like going back after a week or a week and a half of closed? Like, I'll be closed for Christmas.
So
you can't count on me.
You can't.
No, I'm out of here.
Yeah, we're out.
A week and a half later, that's a cost. That costs you guys money to not operate. But
it does.
I'm hearing you say quality of life trumps. What's it like going back in January?
Well, from our perspective, we used SurveyMonkey with our staff and gave them a couple of scenarios this year. Because of Christmas being right in the middle of the week, it was a little bit tricky. So, and because we're 4 days a week, we loaded December, like they're working extra days in December leading up to Christmas in order to get them on the tail end. For us, there is demands, right? Just like you guys know, there's deadlines that need to be met. And our goal is to close like it's Tuesday and open like it's Wednesday in the new year. None of this like push everything out. Got to get everything done, and then in the new year, you're not starting from like a dead stop. So it's like you just prepare for it. And I think that based on our closures, Christmas, and then last year we closed for a week in the summer, just gave everybody the week off. And I think that people just come back and it's worth it. Like instead of the drain of being short staffed because half the staff want to go to Mexico or whatever, you're always dealing with shortages, and everybody that's there deals with the pain. Like Lenny, when you disappeared, everybody dealt with the pain.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, and that's just the nature of it. So I think if we can close the doors like it's a weekday and open like it's a weekday, like you're just way better off. That's our experience anyways.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep driving the point home that Lenny was letting his people down. When they arguably needed him the most, he was nowhere to be found.
Yes,
I mean,
he was gone.
He was gone.
So hated that time of year. I'm not like, I don't use the word hate often, but it was not.
Yeah,
it was not pleasant.
Yeah, it's tough. It's super tough time, and like I said before, sometimes we make assumptions as to what other people want based on what we want and our dynamic is. And I know I've definitely in the past made the mistake of assuming that everybody wants extra time off. Some people, work means different things to them, and it brings them, it fills their cup in a certain part of their life that no other area can. So I think for some people, coming to work and being in that routine, being out of that routine for the holiday season kind of throws them a wrench in their plans. So, I like the SurveyMonkey thing. We didn't do it that formally. We had a conversation about it, which is tough, right? Because you're trying to track all this stuff. But I think being as flexible as possible is good. I personally, like I said before, love shutting it down and coming back where you're all leaving, and then you come back and you're all on the same page, right? There is no resentment of, oh yeah, must have been nice to have that extra time off. We were here, doing this while you were away. I'm not saying that's what happens, but I mean, sometimes it can happen. It's a stressful time of the year. As much as it's, supposed to be this, Hallmark
Yep.
card of a time, it unfortunately brings out sometimes the worst in people because of the heavy stress,
Yep.
financially, mentally,
Yeah.
family, right? So it's a
Well, and you guys know the worst day of the year. I would bet for any industry, but at least for us in the body shop world was. And we marked this on our calendar to warn our people. It was January 15th. And that's when all the credit card bills start showing up. So now you're back at work. You got, in my world, it was 2 weeks of chaos, back in order. We're delivering cars again. And now we have to ask somebody who's maxed out their credit card, stressed theirself way through Christmas, trying to impress family and travel and do all this stuff. Maybe overspent on the gifts because I think we're all, really have giving hearts and want to perhaps please. And now we have to ask them for a deductible.
Yeah.
We literally marked in our calendars January 15th to 30th. Be empathetic. Understand that this is a very tough time for people. So emotionally, what I heard you say, Norm, is through the Christmas season. Brings up another conversation about the feels and the family and the friendships, maybe, the changes that happen in life. A lot of firsts for people maybe who moved or have lost a loved one. But then the financial implications of the holiday, which can absolutely hit your people, both personally, but even in the business at the front desk, you name it. That was tough.
I would even say that the nature of cars and how many are non-drives has affected the pre-Christmas booking as well too. Years ago, we used to have a tough time booking cars the 2 weeks before Christmas because I can't not have my car. I need it during Christmas to get around. But now we have that work because they're all non-drives sitting at our shop ready to go anyways. So it's when your staff says that, you know what, I need to work through Christmas, I have extended myself on my credit cards, then at least we have that opportunity now to accommodate them. And, as long as the right supervision is at the shop and the right people are there, then some staff can work. And that's a good option as well, too.
So, Todd, are you feeling better?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm good to go. Let's get into it.
I'm loving this topic, and I'm loving the fact that we kind of just stumbled into three of you guys who are pulling time away to even do this podcast. But I sense what I heard earlier was that each of you actually are promoting the idea of an extended closed time with some flexibility, perhaps, where people can come in, as you said you're doing, Norm, and Joel mentioned. But is the cost of closing the doors, because there's a cost, let's be honest, it costs you your overhead, it costs you no throughput, it costs you potentially even some rentals, unless you got courtesy cars. There's a cost, is what I heard you say, the cost of working with your staff to understand that there could be merit closing the doors for a portion of time is actually going to pay off when you reopen.
I think it's worth it.
I would agree. It's one of a million things that I can't quantify for you, and I can't put data to back it.
Totally.
It's just one of those many gut decisions that you have to make on the go.
Didn't you say know your numbers, Norm?
Yeah, I definitely said know your numbers. I did, but you can't operate like a robot either. You have to have some empathy, and you have to be able to navigate the situation as you see appropriate. And I think that is one of the most underrated skills of a business owner, is knowing how to read the room and knowing how to read your staff and be able to adjust on the fly, because that is the toughest thing to do, right? Removing your own emotion from the situation, being able to understand what's happening around you and react accordingly to continue to get the best of your people. It's a tricky thing to juggle.
I heard utilize something like a Survey Monkey.
Yes. I mean, it's just a tool. It's just whatever. Our staff are spread all over the place, so it's the easiest way for us to
look for the common response of what people are feeling.
Yeah, and it's anonymous. So it's, it's like, hey, just like tell us how you actually feel, and then we'll respond as accordingly.
And Norm again reinforced that some things you can't quantify, and again, quality of life is one of them. That you can trust that working with your staff at this time of year, because it's weird, it's awkward, but it's designed to be a time for people to get together and celebrate each other. That there is merit to being flexible to that. Maybe there are some people who aren't doing so good at this time, either emotionally, financially, and would rather just work. So that's a great idea, as Joel alluded to. As long as it's a safe environment, allow them to. What other advice would you offer a shop owner? Because let's be honest, maybe it's the shop owner who feels they have to work because they got to pay the bills, and they're freaking out about Christmas and January 15th. What advice would you give to the owner who thinks, well, that's really nice, guys, but I can't afford to do that?
Well, like Norm says, know your numbers. We all see trends year to year, whether it's before year end, after year end, or certain holiday times, summer breaks when we have more holidays. Our margins do get affected by that. So start there. And then from there, I guess it's just a decision as to whether you're willing to accept maybe breaking even for that month, or maybe even carrying a bit of a loss. And like Todd says, when people come to work in January, they're revitalized, they're excited, they're ready to go. Can we pick up those profits from what we lost in December or whatever season it is? Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to lose a little bit. We do. And as long as it's for the benefit of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be intentional. Although I agree with Norm that you can't really calculate the ROI on it very easily. But it's, no different than a technician. Say if you have a technician in a flat rate environment and you've got, 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 80% of their WIP that has to go before Christmas, and then they take time off and they come back and there's nothing for them to do. Like it's costing the same, subjectively just costing you the same amount, because you're going to have lower production leading to a holiday and away from a holiday. So it's like, well, are you better just to start and stop? I think that, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. As a business owner, you can't afford it. But what are the chances that you're going to have full staff anyways? And I just think there's a lot of things to look seriously at and go, can I actually not afford that? I think you should know one way or the other. And we've been there. I mean, I worked lots of Christmases when, it was the only one. It was like, oh, okay, well, I had the phone forwarded to my cell phone, and if the phone rang and it was like we needed that work, right? So like that, if it came in on Boxing Day when we were closed, I was the guy picking up the phone. So I know that feeling, and I can empathize with that feeling. I think that you can work towards something different. It doesn't need to stay like that.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot different. I'm thinking back, 15 plus years ago when I was there by myself or with a couple of staff, when you're the one talking to the customer and then you're also the one going in the back doing the work and put the car together, and then trying to piece together, the promises or the, the expectation that's been set by the customer when they're going to have their car back, and then, trying to fill that, coming in late, doing all those things. It was a lot. It was more customer facing back then, right? Your stress was more towards the customer. As I find in my role in the business today, my stress and concern is more towards the technicians and staff. My admin staff stress will be more customer facing. So it's, I don't know. It just kind of came to me as you guys were talking, and just I don't stop and think back, mostly because I don't remember mostly that far back, but I just got
Yeah.
into that mindset because it was way different. Because then, of course, you run into Joe at the grocery store on Christmas Eve, and it's like, oh, did you get my car painted last night? And oh yeah, I'm gonna go back and put it together now. Those
Oh,
were
man.
different times. Like that was just a different kind of stress and a
Yeah.
totally different environment.
And Joe, the nugget I think you landed out there is you can still go back and think, reflect, look at the last few years at this time of year. How did you do? Those are numbers. Those are real.
Mhm.
Maybe the times have changed over 20 years, but did the last 3 years actually make sense numbers wise? Or again, maybe current state, just pay attention to the next 2 weeks. What is it like? Did it work?
Mhm.
Because we chose to stay open, or because we attempted to, do a half and half, or we literally just shut the doors. And then I'm curious, moving forward, whatever decision you make, what is the first part of your next month look like? So there is a history there.
Mhm.
I think the cool thing about us having this conversation is it's an opportunity for a lot of shop owners, shop managers, and I guess hopefully staff to relate. Um, do any of you have knowledge or feedback on what it's been like to either crunch as much hours as we can before, during, and after Christmas? Or as you guys have alluded to that you've closed, have you ever gotten like honest feedback on it, both for and against?
Well, the ones that want to work, that feedback's pretty simple and straightforward. They want to work. And as long as they have that work to do, then they're happy, or at least they're accomplishing what they feel they need to do. Because obviously, if they need to work, they're carrying some stress levels as well too. Um, as for the ones that don't say anything most times, well, they're still not saying much anyways. I know you said your survey monkey comes in completely anonymous. I'm sure there's some people that are more honest than others. You probably get very little feedback from a few. In whether it's in person or in a survey monkey, that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at our response rates. Are we in the 90s on our response rates most of the time? Most people actually take the time to respond. We really want people to take the time, whether they think they need it or not. But
Right.
in BC, we're mandated to pay sick days, and so we tell people, hey, we close at Christmas. If you don't use your sick days throughout the year, we'll pay them out to you at Christmas. It's like we'll just like it's like an extra week paid vacation. So you can decide, right? It's not compromising um their their ability to take time off at another time of year, which many people don't seem to do that anyways. They just people don't aren't good at taking time off work. So but we do allow, I mean, we allow people to work here and there, like if a text like, hey, can I come in? And we have a system for that. But generally speaking, it in my experience in the collision center, people's productivity is really limited when the whole team isn't there. Like, you can't smash out 100 cars because there's nobody to pre-clean them. There's nobody to paint them. There's nobody to, like, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's pretty limited anyways. But I mean, for someone that's like, hey, like, can I go in between Christmas and New Year's and kind of like fiddle around and clean my tool? Yeah, like, of course, like, we're not that obtuse, but um,
Oh,
it's
great.
just that we find when we solicit feedback afterwards, hey, you came in and worked, how'd that work out for you? Well, I got a couple things done, but it's without everybody here, there's just not enough support to really get work done.
It's a great point, Todd, not just for one individual who maybe could, use some time to clean up their toolbox, but ideas on what you could do in this time of imbalance. Other areas, like we talked in the podcast, part one of what's so hard to find good people, is what areas of your facility could use some attention. not just sweeping around, but wash to the walls and reorganize some things. Get your lunchroom revived. How do we use some of this downtime and actually come up with a strategy? What are some ideas you guys would have, or what have you done when it came to just sprucing up your shop and starting up the new year fresh?
Oh, repainting lines on stalls, repainting the bathroom or the coffee room. Any type of maintenance like that is easily attainable. Getting your furnace cleaned, a lot easier to do when there's nobody there.
Totally. Getting the booth cleaned, huh?
And
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of things. You can actually capture the time if you got people that want to work and you don't mind paying them to do those tasks. Like I think there's a lot of opportunity in there when there's nobody around and you don't have to work around all the movement when you can just sort of settle in. It's a good time to replace lights. It's a good time to service the building. So there's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Equipment inspections.
Yeah, I think it's just about having that flexibility and having those options, just being willing to work with your people, which I think most people are willing to work together and come up with a plan. So,
Yeah.
great. Well, there you go. I love that we use this time to just share. Again, Todd, I hope you feel better.
Thanks, Lenny. Yeah, appreciate that.
I'm not sure if you want us to actually sing a carol for you or something.
No, I'm probably good.
if this podcast is going to survive, I think it's best that we do not sing.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, at least me.
I think this podcast will survive. I think it's gonna be something that some people out there just need to hear about. Clearly, I hope that people will offer feedback on what's worked for them or not worked for them.
Mhm.
I'm certain I'm going to hear from a few past employees about why Lenny truly did go away at Christmas time.
It's out there now, man. It's
out
out there.
now. And with that, I offer my sincere apologies for bailing, because this time should be about, being with family, again, even family at our shops, right? Looking after each other. So, just I guess a word of advice to everyone out there: there is always somebody struggling with something. We don't know what people are going through. What a great time for us as businesses to really reach out and not just say, "Hey, thanks for being here," but check in. How you doing? Everything all right? Do you have a place to go? We can do that. That's allowed. Second, what do we do to bring the energy in the new year? So that was my only other thought. If you guys wouldn't mind sharing, if you are actually doing something or have ideas, what would you do to bring the energy in the new year?
Good question.
Lead by example.
you.
I think a lot of the mood and the tone is set in those first few moments when you get started. And if you're going to come in with your shoulders slouched and your head down low, I think you're unfortunately going to set the tone. And we all know there's people in the business that their mood will overtake the shop atmosphere. And I think that if everybody does their part in coming in with a positive attitude, I think that's one of the things that's contagious. And hopefully it just gets passed around and people just kind of gobble it up and, find a little bit of bounce in their step as well. So it's again, so much of this is just gut. You like all know at the morning meeting what kind of mood, what the atmosphere is, and like you put me on the spot and ask me how, I can't tell you. Like it's just that guy's tone, it's this guy's look, it's this gal's comment, it's a combination of things. And again, I think you can't be tone deaf to those things. I mean, we want to find consistency in our processes, and we want to have a repeatable process. And sometimes we go too far, in my opinion, in just being too cookie cutter. And I think there's moments where we need to reel it back. And I think this is the time of the year where we need to just be human. We need to just connect with people and be able to read the room.
Yep.
We called that heads up or heads down. Right?
Yeah.
Management or leadership is watching around the circle. You'll know. to a degree, and be sensitive to the fact that even heading into the new year, maybe somebody didn't come out of Christmas with such a great time. But I'll offer you this: is it possible to be positive 100% of the time?
No, of course it's not.
Is it possible?
Is it maybe not for me?
Well, it is possible. However, it's highly unlikely.
Well, you
Right.
just put on a happy face and cry in the shower like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Like, it's just when nobody's watching. I mean, come on.
If
Oh.
nobody's seen it, it didn't happen, eh?
So, is it possible to be negative 100% of the time?
It's pretty easy.
So I'm curious, because the only way for negative to exist is if positive does too. Otherwise, it wouldn't be known as negative. It would just be, hey, there's that guy. He's just being that guy.
Yeah.
Right? So the reality is, and don't get me wrong, there's some negative things that happen in this world. Bad stuff happens. Being positive isn't pretending that everything's hunky-dory and unicorns. Being positive is making the most out of the situation at all times. So that the only way for negative to exist is if positive does too. So when negative energy shows up, there is always something positive available, and vice versa. Right? Here's the point, gentlemen. Strongest energy wins every time. So
Believe that.
That's some deep stuff,
Next.
Lenny.
Yeah.
that's just my Christmas contribution.
And we said we were going
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
He missed that. He'll get that later. That was us misbehaving.
Good thing it's still recorded. So I really encourage everyone listening to remember that although we don't know what everyone's going through, we all have an influence on people, including that of our staff.
Yeah.
And again, even on the phone with the customers, the insurance, the owner. So with that, I would say from the Beyond Repair podcast crew, a Merry Christmas and a hell of a big shot into 2025. Really looking forward to what we can keep doing in this podcast, and hoping that we bring value to what we talk about. Absolutely want to continue to put these out there so we can gain some awareness, gain some consistency and some trust from listeners. But above all, look for people to communicate. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you're frustrated with. Tell us what you're hoping for, and send us ideas to talk about. So,
Setting the tone. I like it.
so past that, gentlemen, I don't know. Let me edit this. Let me see what I can do with it. I do think I'll be closed for Christmas might be the title.
I'll be closed for
And-
Christmas. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Count on me. Yeah.
Shit.
Let's do a
Yep,
video
appreciate it.
tour in the new year. Looking forward to it.
All right,
right.
guys.
Take care.
Merry
Gentlemen.
Christmas, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.